According to this movie, do you believe in the flood or a meteor? Which spectrum do you fall under? Chase, Lee Hockey here at the Blue Futon reviewing The Ark and the Darkness. What's this about? Pretty simple premise. It's a documentary that is at the Ark Encounter, which is in Kentucky, as well as Liberty University, that talks about Noah's Ark, darkness, biblical, shenanigans, I mean plague, what is happening today, the Babel Tower that's in Iran, what does that symbolize then and now, and just what is the connecting themes that is going on in this movie. And this does talk about Jurassic Park. This does talk about other Discovery TV shows, and it kind of brings into light to say what is true and what is not. And I think that's the good question about this, is someone's going to say what is true and what is not. Because you're going to have a religious crowd be like, the ark was real, the flood was real. Then you're going to have the atheists be like, no, it was the meteor, it was the meteor. The thing is with this movie, even though, yes, I'll say it's one-sided to a point, everyone they interviewed is on the side of Noah's Ark, is on the side of the flooding, is on the side of there's probably a second coming that's about to happen. But they do give multiple scenarios where you do think like, okay, what information came from who and from what? I do like that they dog on Neil deGrasse Tyson because he's starting to be a really annoying motherfucker. And, I said the F word, but he truly is. So talk about the positives. This is actually produced extremely well. Some good graphics, some good interesting scenarios. When I say good graphics, I'd say the CGI is better than like Moonfall. I know that's a really weird comparison, but all I could think of is some of this disaster footage and comparing it to Moonfall. I'm like, this disaster footage is on better terms. It probably had like a less budget on all levels. So I'll give it that point. The people they interviewed, they were interesting. Like, I was intrigued with what they were trying to say. Yes, were some of them more preachy than others and felt a little forced? Absolutely. But the overall experience of what they were saying, I was like, okay, I never thought about it that way. And that's what I think a movie like this is supposed to do. It's not supposed to like completely, okay, usually documentaries are supposed to push an agenda. Ava DuVernay, she pushes an agenda. Michael Moore pushes an agenda. So Al Gore pushes an agenda. So yeah, usually movies like this are pushing somewhat of an agenda, even though they don't try to do it. But this one does. It does. And it's not, it's not like saying it doesn't. It's basically saying, we do think this is happening, but here are some facts that we think that's in the Bible that we could correlate it with what is happening in the world are the sedimentary, the rocks, the 10-mile trenches in the ocean, about how people are saying, oh, if the flood did happen, where would the water have gone? And I guess they kind of joke with that, saying like the earth is 70%. What do you mean, where would the water go? The trenches are now bigger because of the continents moving apart, tectonic plates, so the trenches become bigger. And what is it called? Evaporation. Yeah, that's called science, right? Right? And then it talks about, okay, if you believe the flood, sure, let's talk about the meteor. And that was probably the most intriguing part of this movie, is I never thought about that. Like, okay, if a meteor hits, right? Fire, brimstone around the earth, and then a random ice age just occurs out of nowhere because of science. And when you hear that explanation, which I did do Google it, and that explanation, like, I'm not saying I'm like, saying, oh, the ark or the flood is 100%, but the meteor just seems less likely now. Like, when you actually talk about, like, where's the crater, but people go, oh, where's the ark? Well, then tell me where this crater is. If it's that big of a crater that ran around the world, oh, that's what started the, the continent splitting up. It's like, okay, wouldn't there be still something to show? So yes, and then it talks about, is the Earth really 10 billion years old or 10 million years old, or is it as old as it is in the Bible? There is, iffy stuff through in and throughout when you talk about both sides of the argument. But I do think there's enough data and just enough interesting scenarios that they bring into this. I think the most intriguing one is they talk about this Cal University professor that might have gotten fired because of something about a T-Rex. And it did bring up Jurassic Park, how the book in Jurassic Park says, DNA from mosquito in the ember morph it with the frog. That's how you get dinosaurs. But now apparently there's actually real, like, what am I trying to say? Skin of a Triceratops or a T-Rex or some type of dinosaur, like this cartilage thing, and they showed footage of it and how they're trying to say this was on a horn of one of the dinosaurs. It was really fascinating footage. So it was like footage I've never even thought about or seen before. It's weird that I have to watch this, movie to actually get this footage. Like, it's not like on any other like scientific, but apparently the science wants to hide this data, which is very interesting because it, you could call it climate change. Who funds the climate change? The people that want the money. Follow the money. It's pretty damn simple because climate changes every day. Yeah, are you going to be like, also, I will give pictures, all right? Statue of Liberty from like 100 years ago to now, the water levels are still the exact same. And yeah, so other than that, not trying to say that, but for the Ark and the Darkness, it's interesting. Yes, it's preachy. Yes, it could feel like it's going a little bit over long, sure, but I do think it gave me enough to make me think about other things because it did bring science into it. If you actually read the Bible, there are actually scientific methods and scientific things that you go, that's very interesting, where people say, oh, science and religion never mix. They actually mix more than you actually think. So the Ark and the Darkness will receive a 3.5 out of 5 Futons, which equals at 70%. Like I said, it can be a little preachy for some, but if you're intrigued to just see other sides of the spectrum or argument, it could just make you think. And if it makes you think, that's good in my opinion. So see the Critics News scores gave this one. So critics, none of them, audience score 92% with over 500. No critic consensus. So we have the 92 and 70. Chase Lock here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what things Futontopia. You Blue Futons think about a great day. I don't care if I watch this tomorrow, week, month, or a year from now. For one of you. I'm kind of tired. So please, no floods tonight. I'm begging you. I'm in Florida, and it happens all the time, and my insurance is in 2 flood zones. Please, 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 please.